We're joined now by Emory Hunt, NFL Draft Insider from CBS. I always love this, and it's Matt, you're going to be mad at me because I'm asking this question a lot over the next 4 days. The depth. Give me the position that the depth, the most value is when you get to those mid-rounds, Emory, where those still players are that in other drafts they'd be moving up the board.
Great question, and right off the bat, I would say wide receiver. And I think that's the deepest group. And I'm not surprised because as we know how the college game has gone to where you're seeing more 4 and 5 wide receiver sets, which means you're also going to see probably more, nickel and dime defenses. So receiver and defensive back are going to always be the deepest. But right now, I would say wide receiver, because how elite the top is. When I say top, I'm talking about 10 to 12 guys. And then that pushes great depth down all the way throughout the different positions because I grade them split, flanker, I'm old, Z receiver, slot, and big inside receiver. So I grade 4 different receiver positions. So from what I've seen, it's a pretty good class.
Hey, Emory, the quarterback, we were talking, off air right before you got on about, like, Anthony's year as a rookie year, but the quarterbacks from last year's draft to this year's draft, do you see that sort of same thing? Because there's 4 guys' names that are being thrown around in the top 10, top 15 picks this year that potentially 4 could go off the board early. Do you see it?
Well, yeah, and last year, Anthony Richardson was my QB1, and he was number 1. I had Bryce Young number 2 and C.J. Stroud number 3, but I had all 3 with the same grades. So I thought you couldn't go wrong with anyone, but I preferred Anthony Richardson. This year, my top 5, Caleb Williams, who has a 90 grade, so I think he's a top. He's graded that. I rarely give 90, so he's elite in that mind. Second is Jaden Daniels. Third is Spencer Rattler. I've been on the Spencer Rattler train. I feel like this guy has had a full pro career already in college because he started out great, then had the downward spiral at Oklahoma. Started off inconsistent at South Carolina. Last 6 games of last year, he did great, and then he carried it over this year despite the offensive line issues. So he's my number 3. Number 4 is going to be a bit of a surprise. Had he not gotten injured, he would have played in all these All-Star games. Jordan Travis. What I love about Jordan Travis is the ball just moves. Like, I call him the Malcolm X of quarterbacks. It's by any means necessary. The ball is going down the field. Run game, he's moving the sticks, right? So the offense moves, and he gets even better inside the red zone where it counts. Kind of like Josh Allen inside the red zone where he can lock in and don't turn the ball over. And number 5 is Drake May. I like Drake May. But I feel like with Drake May, it's when you're watching the games, you're kind of sitting back wondering, okay, yeah, he's good, but what's the it? Like, what's the reason why everybody's drawn to? What's the trait? Like, let's say with Richardson, it was the athleticism or the deep ball. With Stroud, it was his ability to lock in crucial situations. With Bryce Young, it was his ability to create all script. What's the it with Drake May? And I feel like that's not there yet, which is why he's my 5. I feel he's a late first, early second round type talent. But it still has upside because he came out early, and that's what you want in someone. Okay, we can still groom him and develop him to be that guy.
Emory Hunt is our guest from CBS. You mentioned that Anthony Richardson, he was your top guy last year. And we were talking right before we hit the record button that you feel that if he were to have stayed healthy last year, the Colts may have won the division. That's how strongly you feel. That's how convicted you are in terms of his growth, his potential early on as a rookie. With that said, how much of the book is still out on Anthony Richardson because he did only play 173 snaps? I mean, how much of an incomplete does he get in your book from what you saw as a rookie?
I'm smiling because, there's different levels to this, right? It's like the role Heath Ledger did in Batman, right? He never got to see the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you look at when Michael Vick was supposed to be paired with Bobby Petrino. He never got to work with Vick, but then we saw what it looked like when he worked with Lamar. Watching that Rams game, I was like,
the second half. Yeah.
Wait until they get Jonathan Taylor paired with this dude. Game over. They're going to average 35 points a game. He's going to probably have 2,000 yards rushing, Jonathan Taylor, because the box will be light. You got to keep the backside defender. And we never got to see it. So, and then toward the back end, Alec Pierce finally started to catch football and not have tender forearms where you just tap him and the ball comes out. So now you have him and Pittman and you have the tight ends where I was like, man, we never got to see the picture. And so I'm excited for this year. Health permitting, we see the full-fledged because I was rewind, and a clip came out early in the week that I responded to with the video clip of my evidence. This was in 2018. I was trying to tell everybody, if I was the Browns with picks 1 and 4, I'm taking Saquon 1 because I knew the Giants were wanting him. I'm taking Lamar at 4, and I'm going to lead the league in rushing for the next decade. So
Right.
I look at what potentially could be with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor with the run game, the play-action pass game, the weapons they have at tight end, the offensive line improving, and the potential to add receiver. Like, this team, everyone's talking about the Texans right now, but this is a team that could win a division legitimately.
And those two guys, Richardson and Taylor, played a combined 2 snaps together last year.
We never got to see the movie.
And it's excruciating because of the way Week 18 went, losing to the Texans. I mean, it's like getting your teeth pulled right there because you have all of these things on the sidelines that all these toys you're not able to play with, so to speak.
And the thing is, when you watch how, man, the Colts did such a great job drafting last year and acquiring talent in the undrafted free agent market. I include that with the draft grade, so I gave them an A+ because I thought from top to bottom that they did really well. Got the long corners, they got depth along the defensive line. They were able to add some pieces to accentuate Anthony Richardson. Josh Downs is a guy that I think is going to be outstanding coming off play action. He started to come along toward the back end of the season.
Where'd you have him last year?
Who, Downs?
Yeah.
He was one of my top slot. I can't remember offhand, but I know he had a really good grade as a slot guy, a plug-and-play guy, because he creates so much space without the ball. When you watch him at North Carolina, you see he's open a lot. But only so many times you can get the football, but he's open all the time. And now you factor in how wide that is, like you're playing in the CFL when you have the quarterback that creates space width-wise, the receiver that can operate in a parking lot with space like Downs, and you have the back that you have to. The Colts are a matchup nightmare, to be honest.
I love it. Emory Hunt right there, NFL insider from CBS. I could do this stuff all day because I love talking about last year and stuff, but like we saw a guy like Nakua last year, 5th rounder, go crazy. I mean, put on that year. System, or was it the player in your opinion? And like, where do you have a guy like that had a dominant year as a 5th rounder? Are those guys available this draft as well? Emory?
Absolutely, and I always tell people because I see this a lot on social media. The draft is bigger than one round. Like, there's only 32 picks in the first round, and if you watch social media, there's like 15 top 10 locks, right? So not everybody can go top 10. Everybody can go in the first round. So the draft is bigger than that, right? And with Nakua's case, I will say this. I think his drop happened because of what happened at the Senior Bowl. The first practice at the Senior Bowl, he had a great catch on the sideline in one-on-ones. Hit his head on the field when he fell, had a concussion, was out the whole week. People probably were worried about concussions, and so that's why he dropped. But the talent was evident on film. There's a ton of guys like that in the draft here for the Colts to acquire. In this draft, to me, you're always going to find guys like those. I call them those big inside receivers. They're technically not explosive enough to be an X, but you kind of like them like that 4x4 alignment to where they can work inside, but they can also block well, but they also get open. They're good route runners. They're good after the catch. It's a bunch of those guys in this class that fit the mold. You may not get you may get a bigger slot guy that's like 6'1", 218, but you also have guys throughout the draft that can fit that role. So there's a bunch of guys. That one name that comes to mind, Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross. I was at the College Gridiron Showcase. I cover a lot of FCS, but I call a lot of FCS games. So I've seen Holy Cross a lot. And Coker went out to the Hula Bowl, physically dominated, and then got the call up to the Shrine Bowl and just continued to do that against Power 5 competition on a consistent basis. So he is someone, he may not run a blazing 40, but who cares? He gets open. He's physical. He's great after the catch. He can play inside as a slot. He blocks well, and he's good at the catch point. That's
Emory Hunt, NFL Draft Insider, CBS. He's also the owner of Football Gameplan. You got the polo right there. You got the little.
Tell us about that football game plan.
Yeah, what's the slogan there?
Well, where football makes sense.
Okay, all right.
See, because listen, I don't like to brag on myself. I just tell the truth.
Go ahead.
It seems like brag, right? So when we had like these players ranked, right? No one was. And the clips are there. So July of 2022, I came out. I was on Sirius XM radio. And I said, Anthony Richardson is the best quarterback in the country. He had played 9 games. So naturally, everybody hit the Twitter. It was like, this dude is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what is he talking about? He barely started. And then after the first game, everybody's like, oh, he should be the Heisman winner. He should be number 1. I'm just sitting back like, but y'all tell I was dumb. And so I'm saying that because Football Game Plan, we tend to think independently. And I'd rather be wrong by myself than wrong in a group. And our draft guide is the largest out there, over 1,000 individual scouting reports. You can pre-order the 2024 guide at footballgameplan.com/2024 draft guide. We're going to have guys all in there from, let's say, matter of fact, I was here last year on CBS, and they were asking me who's one of your sleepers for running backs, right? I was like, well, we don't have to travel far. We can go right down the street to Toriana Clinton at University of Indianapolis, the Greyhounds. No one knew who the hell he was.
Right.
He ends up on the Colts.
Yeah,
Had a
preseason.
So it was like, that's how deep we go.
Absolutely. All the way down to you, Indy. I love that. Go Greyhounds in that regard. How annoyed are you that these quarterbacks aren't going to throw? And how does that kind of factor into the bigger picture of the combine? Because some of the quarterbacks aren't throwing. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to prepare at all for the combine. Hell, he's not even going to have a pro day. Some of the head coaches are seemingly devaluing the combine. How, as a lifer for you, as an analyst, how annoyed are you that the combine is being mistreated, so to speak?
I hate it. I hate the fact that I can understand guys that don't want to run the 40, because that would have been me. Because I know my 4.6 40 is not going to look good against everyone else running 4.2. I'm going to look like the slowest man in America. It's just a smart move not to run.
Right.
But for the quarterbacks, all you do is throw. We already know you haven't worked with these guys. We already know that these are not the guys you've built that rapport with.
We already know the variables.
Exactly. So this is why throw. Now, granted, yes, if you are the weakest arm of the quarterbacks and you are, by alphabetical order, have to go behind Joe Milton, it sucks. But at the end of the day, we know this already. We know Joe Milton has a rocket on. We know you don't have a rocket on. We just want to see you get out there and throw. And it's throwing. This throwing is what you do. It's a confidence thing. It's a competitive thing. I'd rather see those guys get out there and throw. We never see defensive backs say, hey, we're not going to go out there and do back pedal drills. Or, quarterbacks go out there and just throw. Kickers kick, quarterbacks throw.
That's right. You want to get smarter? Go to footballgameplan.com. We're talking to Emory Hunt from CBS. This draft, Matt was talking about these guys not throwing and such like that. And where they drop or where they go up. And we're seeing quarterbacks in these small school quarterbacks. I'm just going to put you on the spot because we're going to talk to you next year. Give me a fifth, give me a sixth, give me a seventh rounder that's going to make an impact for a football team this year outside of special teams.
It's funny because there's a couple of you say quarterbacks, right?
No, sir.
Just in general.
Fifth, sixth, and seventh rounders that'll make a difference. Specials are specials.
Okay.
I understand on that, but somebody's making a difference on the field.
John Giles, the wide receiver from West Florida.
Write that down now, Casey Valier.
214, and this is someone, and this is why I love going to all the different All-Star games, because you get to see at every level guys that make moves, and you get to kind of watch what teams gravitate toward certain players after practice. That's always the nonverbal cues of. Like, I remember last year there was a particular team that ended up bringing this guy into camp that at the College Gridiron Showcase. Every rep he had, they put their notebooks down like, we got to watch this. So it's like I was sitting behind. I was like, oh, they love this dude. And he ended up in their camp. But John Giles was at the College Gridiron Showcase, receiver out of West Florida, the Argonauts, Division II power, did a great thing down there. It felt like he was dominating and he was on cruise control. Like releases were where he needed to be, speed to separate, hands catching away from his body. Got the call up to the Hula Bowl short notice because somebody got hurt. He got called up. Came in there on a short week, dominated, and had a really good game as well.
Right. And
he is someone, then you go back and watch his games against Florida A&M, who has two guys in the secondary is going to be 2025 draft pick. So it's a good, D2 versus FCS, a good FCS team. He was open a lot in that game. Quarterback just couldn't throw him the ball. So John Giles has the size, the athleticism, the hands, everything that you want. I think he's going to end up in the campus surprise.
Awesome. We're going to write that down, and you know how to call. You know how to pick a memory, so we're on this one. Not only that, if I get a minute with Ballard, I'm going to say, hey, check out the Giles. Check out the Giles kid.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. Yeah, Jeffrey Gorman in the war room right there. Last one for me, Emory. Speaking of Chris Ballard, there at the end of the season, at his end of the year press conference, he really made no bones about it. The Colts need to be more explosive on offense, right? More chunk plays. Help supplement Anthony Richardson, help complement the running game with Richardson and with Jonathan Taylor. With that in mind, who are some of the guys that might be there for the Colts at pick number 15 if they choose to go that route, a guy that catches the ball that would obviously add a lot more pop within their offense?
Now, listen, I'm despite my appearance, I may be the illegitimate child of Al Davis, right?
Okay.
Because I am always going to gamble on speed. So Troy Franklin can legit fly. Like, He's a lean built guy, right? He's built like an aux cord. I get it, but he can definitely fly, and I think he has the ability to add weight to his frame and not lose that athleticism. And when you're watching his route running, he doesn't run like a fast guy only. He runs routes like he's a nuanced receiver.
Sure.
And so I think when you combine him with what you have in Josh Downs and what you have in all the backs, the speed, you want to create a situation where it's impossible to cover. And Franklin, to me, especially with I expect the run-on receivers to happen early in this draft class, at 15, I would be hard-pressed to not take him.
All right, you heard it right there. Get smarter at football, folks. It's easy. Go to footballgameplan.com. Emory Hunt is our guest right here from CBS talking about this draft. We are going to talk to you after the draft, and we're going to talk to you more about this upcoming season with your guy, Anthony Richardson, leading this offense. I know, quickly, the future's bright for this Colts team in your eyes.
AFC South champions 2024, book it.
Book that. We need Emory Hunt on
Pound
the
the table,
show more.
man.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
the time. Have fun the next couple of weeks and enjoy what you do and keep doing it, because I tell you, you're fun to follow on this stuff. And as far as picking your brain goes, Emory, I could do this for about 4 hours. So give me a long one next time, will you?
Anytime, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Emory Hunt, thank you so much.